Well, I'm Kapil Kumar, basically a professor of history at IGNOU, but now heading the School of Tourism and Hospitality Services Studies at IGNOU. And I'd like to share my views about heritage tourism in Rajasthan to you today. Well, one doesn't have to talk much about Rajasthan as a tourist destination. There is no doubt that it's one of the prime destinations in the world today. And the kind of tourism sources and the tourism potential we have in Rajasthan is a unique one, particularly in relation to the forts and palaces and the culture of Rajasthan. Of course, then we have the Jaisalmer desert safaris and many other things like the Pushkar Mela and all those aspects. But the way tourism has professionally developed in Rajasthan, there are certain other requirements also if we have to sustain that tourism to Rajasthan. And I personally feel that we have to still generate a typical tourism awareness as to customer care or caring for the tourists in Rajasthan. And that needs a lot of effort on the part of the state and the industry to move into the areas and make people aware of the benefits of tourism, also the social impacts of tourism, economic impacts of tourism, environmental impacts of tourism, and the kind of revenue which tourism is generating and the job creation which tourism is doing, to sustain that, keeping in view how we mitigate the negative impacts of tourism in certain areas like environment or even in terms of cleanliness, etc. of the cities. One basic aspect today is that the population in the cities has changed drastically. Say for example, if we take the case of Jaipur, now not all in Jaipur are the traditional people of Jaipur. Many have moved to Jaipur to earn a livelihood, and they do get a livelihood from tourism in the city. And yet at the same time, they don't have a belonging to the city. They don't know much about the cultural heritage of the city. They don't know much about the traditions of the city, and they are only concerned about earning their livelihood, which tourism is providing to them. So it's time they should be made aware of this aspect, that the tourist who's coming to Jaipur is not coming because of them or their services. The tourist who's coming to Jaipur is coming because of the heritage of Jaipur, the attraction of the Amer Fort, or whether it is the Hawa Mahal, or whether it is the palace, or different aspects. And it is there that they provide the services. So their livelihood is correlated to the coming of tourists over there in the area rather than the other way around. And in this perspective, certain aspects which are required to provide better services, quality services in that area is a must. And this kind of awareness we still lack at many of our destinations. It's not Jaipur I am talking of. Agra has the same tendency over there. And the first impression a tourist wants to get of a city is that of a neat and clean city. And there we lack badly. We can't leave it only, the industry of tourist industry can't leave it to the government or the municipal bodies or the government bodies, because they also earn a lot from the tourist destination. And I have been urging upon the tourist trade that, well, it's the government which maintains these aspects, but still, if they can contribute about 1% of their earnings, they do give taxes and all, but if 1% of their earnings they can give towards the cleanliness of these destinations, it will go a long way in providing sustainability to the destination in terms of its cleanliness and in terms of maintaining its heritage. Secondly, another major issue has become in conserving the heritage in its proper perspective. One is the original traditional heritage, the other is the imitation. A lot of heritage hotels, heritage properties came up in the Havelis and all those aspects, and so developed also the imitations in terms of new modern buildings and all these aspects related to that. So one has to take into account the authenticity of these aspects of heritage also if we are promoting Rajasthan or Jaipur as heritage products in tourism. That authenticity has to be kept in mind, because the tourist of today is a very different tourist. It's not the tourist of 20 years back who had no knowledge of the destination, or who had just read a brochure or had some reference in a book, or had read, or someone had told him, look, I have been to Rajasthan and I have seen the forts and all that. Today with the IT revolution, there is so much for a tourist to learn about. And we have seen that today many tourists are much more educated and well informed about the destination rather than the guides and escorts who are escorting them or who are interpreting the destination to them. And in relation to that, what requires is a total upgradation of these kind of services also to the tourists. I've been telling my students who are in the travel trade, who go to the travel trade after doing their master's programs or bachelor programs, that you should be ready to answer even the smallest questions which you think a tourist might ask. A tourist might ask you in terms of culture, okay, how come the bindis which the women put here are of different types? Why someone is putting a round bindi and why someone is putting a flat bindi, this kind of a thing. Or the jewelry which you are wearing, which region it comes from, which design it comes from. And these kind of questions one has to be ready to answer. And mind it, you can't just take the tourist for granted by giving any answer, because the tourist is inquisitive. Immediately he or she will sit on the website and look for it. Okay, this is the jewelry I bought, what is the picture, what region it comes from, what I liked and what I did. And to move, and we have so much, in terms of developing the product, that the time has come now to rejuvenate the heritage products of Rajasthan. We have seen how Paris on the Wheel started. Initially it ran at losses, today it's doing very well, and today it's one of the most costliest projects which caters to the budget tourists. At the same time, we have in Rajasthan even the backpackers moving all around in different categories. And a very interesting thing about Rajasthan is that Rajasthan is not only catering to the international tourists, but is a prime destination for domestic tourists also. And this combination of two requires two things mainly. One, quality in services has to be improved. And when I say quality in service, I don't mean just the prices. I mean the attitudes in quality, the attitudes of hospitality, the service sector attitude, the serving attitude, the humble attitude. I'm not saying that you take the nonsense of the tourists. You have to respond to it, you have to react to it. But at the same time, you have to be very, very, very tourist friendly in this regard. And secondly, the awareness which I have talked of, that the host population also has to be made aware that how tourism is benefiting them and what they have to contribute to tourism to reap those benefits. If they want to reap these benefits for a long time to come in tourism, then they also have to give something to tourism. They are not only supposed to take something from tourism. And thirdly, I think a time has come that the tourism products of Rajasthan need reunification. That's a management term we use, because I think Rajasthan is reaching a peak stage, say, of the product life cycle. And it's time that we look at a SWOT analysis, that what is weakness, what is our strength, and we tend to tie up our weaknesses to make the product much more successful, and simultaneously look for a more aggressive marketing policy by looking at the various competitive destinations, that what they are offering, what we are offering, why the tourist is going there, why the tourist is not coming to us. Look at this in the different international markets. And my request is that they need more professionally trained people in the tourism departments and even for teaching tourism these days. Thank you very much.